Evening. It's a crash that shook area residents and has left many across the country in shock. 6 young lives between the ages of 13 to 17 have been taken away. Now, police have identified the victims of the crash. They are from Lloydminster, 14-year-olds Amy Hurley, Mackenzie Moen, and 13-year-old Naomi Salas Schaefer. From Marshall, 17-year-old Christopher Taverner and 16-year-old Jaden Botcher, and from Lashburn, 15-year-old Taryn Atfield. The crash happened on Range Road 490 early yesterday morning between a tanker and a car. Now, the crash scene has turned into a memorial as friends and family are remembering their loved ones. Bart Padiasic reports on how the family of one victim is dealing with the aftermath of this tragic incident.
Now, it's been more than a day since that tragic collision that took the lives of 6 young people on this stretch of road. Crews have worked overnight and most of that wreckage is gone. The only thing left over is a memorial set up by friends and family.
It was a somber morning for Delbert Atfield and his family as they came flowers in hand to remember their son, whose life was cut too short at this very spot. Taryn Atfield was one of the victims. He was just 15 years old. Delbert wanted a proper memorial site to remember his son and his friends.
Because I see it in the ditches where other people have family that dies, and I just wanted to put it there.
Delbert got a chance to see his son one last time.
But we still had to go see him, kiss him and hug him goodbye. And he was all broken up, broken wrists and everything.
The crash that took 6 innocent lives is resonating right here at home and across the country. Here in the border city, some businesses have lowered their flags to half-mast as several communities in our area try to come to grips with what happened. As for the Atfields, they want people to remember their son as he was.
As a good person. That's all I can say. Because he was a good kid. He got good grades in school and everybody loved him.
As for the tanker driver involved in the crash, he was last reported as being in stable condition. A forensics officer on scene says 5 of the victims weren't wearing seatbelts.
Now, police investigators are still working out exactly what happened here, and it may take months before we have any real answers. They say it's too early to tell if drugs or alcohol were factors. Reporting from south of Lloydminster, Bart Padiasic, Newcap News.
And if you would like to pay your respects, St. Anthony's Church is holding a special youth mass. That's tonight at 7 o'clock. Cleanup continues following a 7-car train derailment in Lloydminster. Canadian Pacific says the cars have been emptied and turned upright. Now crews are in the process of moving them into the train yard. The cars were carrying crude oil when they derailed just after 5 o'clock Friday afternoon. Ed Greenberg with Canadian Pacific says crews are hoping to have the remaining cars moved back into the yard by tomorrow morning.
It's a process that takes time, and there are 6 remaining cars that are being inspected on site and then will eventually be moved back in the yard for further inspection.
Although no leaks from the cars were reported, diesel from the train's engine spilled into the area.
That diesel fuel was contained around the locomotive, and we've been working with Saskatchewan Ministry of Environment officials to ensure that appropriate environmental remediation is done.
Because the derailment happened near the train yard, operations have not been affected. CP trains are still running. Well, RCMP are cracking down on tinted windshields in Lloydminster. August is Window Tint Enforcement Month. Annika Notveit has more on what this means for drivers sporting shaded windows.
Now, if you have tinted windows, don't panic quite yet. Tint that comes on new vehicles is legal and is made to be safe.
The factory window tint is a component of the glass, whereas aftermarket window tint is a film that is actually applied to the window after the fact. And that causes a number of concerns both from an operational point of view and from a safety point of view as well.
But if you're a fan of tinted windows, there is a safe way to have them darkened.
I drive a vehicle that has window tint on it. It's been done professionally in town, and it meets all of the guidelines.
Holland says at the end of the day, people need to be smart when it comes to changing windows.
There's absolutely an understanding as to why people want to do it, and people have to understand that they have to operate within the provincial statute, and they need to be safe.
Alberta drivers caught with illegal tint will have to show proof that it's been removed and could be subject to a $57 fine.
It's really not the fines that are at issue here, because the possible repercussions are much larger than that.
Concerns such as driving at night or on cloudy days.
They might not see a moose running across the road. They might not see a pedestrian trying to cross the street. They might not be able to meet the eyes of another driver, and the wrong person leaves a four-way stop.
If you don't comply with the regulations, RCMP say you run the risk of having your car taken off the road until you can prove your windows meet the guidelines. Anna Connaught, Newcap News.
Lloydminster residents should note that SAS Power has scheduled a 3-hour power outage for tomorrow morning. The power will be out from 5 until 8 a.m. from 32nd Street to 44th Street and from 40th Avenue to 47th Avenue. The Prairie North Health Region Hospital and Husky Oil operations are both included in this outage. SAS Power says it's needed in order to complete system maintenance. For more information, you can contact SAS Power at 306-310-2220 or 1-888-355-5589. And Kyle joining me now with sports, and we're starting things off today with a chuck wagon update. The final day of the CPCA Canada Cup was this afternoon in Meadow Lake.
It was, and it's one of my favorite events because, you know, they're individuals, but they also get split up into teams. It's really interesting for the fans as well. And last night, BJ Carey broke the track record with a 1:0.84. And also had the quickest time on day one. So Carey was eyeing the sweep in Meadow Lake. His team was also just 4 points back of Team Laboucan in the Canada Cup standings. I couldn't get exact details by showtime, but I do know that BJ Carey is the Meadow Lake champion. He had himself a great weekend. Now, when it comes to the Canada Cup, Team Nolan came all the way back from the 5-point deficit to claim the title. Each driver on Nolan's squad will receive 1,500 big ones for the win. We will try to have more details for you on Late Night. All right, to the U21 Women's Fast Pitch Canadian Championship now. It is crunch time as there are only a few games left to determine who will be crowned the best team in Canada. The Lloydminster Rebels split their first 2 playoff games yesterday and had a few more today. In the first game of the day, the Rebels took on the Saskatoon G-Force and came away with a 2-1 win. Designated hitter Mackenzie Bender went 2 for 3 and was batting an insane .571 at that point. A little later in the afternoon, the Lloydminster Rebels played the Les Rebels from Quebec, and it wasn't a great end result for them. They failed to put up any runs on the board in a 7-0 shutout loss.